what I find is that we are all aligned on the fact that we want to provide excellent patient care and that we want to make sure that we close the gaps in healthcare. How we get there, not aligned, right? So, which is really great because we've got the opportunity to hear a lot of different perspectives, which is really good. Some of the things, wow, I never would have really thought of.
Welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with Tanzi Buckor and Michelle. And so Tanzi is Chief Nurse Officer at Community Medical Centers, which are FQHCs, federally qualified healthcare clinics?
Health centers, yep.
Health centers, thank you very much, which serves an at-risk population. So patients that typically fell through the cracks. And so I think it's freaking awesome. So I appreciate you jumping on to have a conversation about stuff. And we're kicking off with a quote that we both landed on. I'll read it since I'm the one that's got it right here. And it's from Peter Drucker. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. So I know what this means for me, what we talked about, and it was all about this need and this impetus to be able to change and be flexible. And also part of the flags, and you and I have talked about this, is if we have people in situations go, well, we've always done it that way. It's like that doesn't mean you're going, okay, great, I guess it's the right thing to do. But what's your perspective? What's happening in your world that you're seeing that there is a need to change and not just go with the status quo?
Well, actually, thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah.
The outcomes tell me that we need to change and that we need to um, change direction from the status quo. We need to figure it out, build, create, change. But the challenges that I see is I'm faced with this is the way we've done it always.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm finding is that sometimes people aren't really open to just a different way of thinking about things. And that is where the greatest challenge lies for me. And so I'm spending a lot of time putting work in to helping people understand, why we should change.
Mm-hmm.
And also just looking at kind of the current outcomes. What are your thoughts about the outcomes? Do you think we can be better? What do you think it would take to be better? And so just kind of, sparking some thought around, hey, should we continue to accept status quo or results, or can we be better? Are we better?
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely are better. And so then what does it take to get there?
So it's interesting you say that. So as you know me, my brain goes a number of different ways. So I wonder, because part of it is, and I'll just say it, is change is scary. And it is something that we are actually wired as humans to resist. So it's one of those things that, how are you engaging your teams to be able to do that? I know you talk about, hey, here's the measurements. Are we doing the best we can? Is there room for opportunity? I'm going to be doing a workshop with LEI, Lean Enterprise Institute in Atlanta next month. And so in that, we're talking about, leading during transformation and innovation and basically cultivating that collaboration. And I know you as a leader that does that really well. What are some of the other tips and tricks, Tanzi, that you're using? Because you're up against an organization that for years, and any organization we go into is years have a very structured, practice. I mean, we talk about healthcare. Healthcare is like, this is how we do it. What's your approach? How do you engage people?
Yeah, it's a little different this time because it's an FQHC and I've spent the entirety of my career on the inpatient side. So there's that. Uh,
Yes.
but what I'm finding out is that change no matter where you are. Um, and the work that I'm really focused on is of course building the team. That's where we are right now, building the foundation. Do we have the right people in the right places with the right skill set to get us where we need to go to help us achieve those goals?
Mhm.
That's really where we are right now. And then also working to make sure that we're all aligned, that our thinking is aligned. Uh,
Mhm.
what are the goals? Getting those identified where do we see we can, where can we have a few quick wins?
Mhm.
Where will the results take a little bit longer to achieve? And just kind of getting everything mapped out.
Mhm.
That's kind of where we are.
Well, and I love the idea of clarity on where we're going. I'm a huge proponent for the word alignment over like consensus building, that may be this thing of everyone needs to agree to this thing, because there's going to be things, and you and I have been in that situation before, we're going, if I wore that badge, I wouldn't necessarily go down that path or do that thing. That being said, okay, yeah, let's give it a shot. And I think that's the whole idea of alignment. And when I say the word alignment, when I hear it, I think of geese. You know how they're all flying in that, that V shape, and they're literally aligned. It doesn't matter, it doesn't mean that they're all flapping at the same time, but they're going in the same direction. And that to me is what that is. And it's because we're dealing with humans that we're all stepping in at different points, and we need to hear different things to go, okay, I get it. What have you noticed, or since you're with your approach? So I know you've engaged with team members. What have you noticed? I mean, do you have some people who are like, oh my God, this is the best thing since sliced bread, let's go. And other people are like, I don't really like sliced bread.
Yes, I noticed that there are a lot of folks out there that don't really like sliced bread. Uh, so what I find is that we are all aligned on the fact that we want to provide excellent patient care and that we want to make sure that we close the gaps in healthcare. How we get there, not aligned, right? So, which is really great because we've got the opportunity to hear a lot of different perspectives, which is really good. Some of the things, wow, I never would have really thought of,
Hmm.
so it's really good to hear that and incorporate those perspectives to help generate the most appropriate plan or approach to achieving our goals.
Yeah. I'm gonna highlight something that I've found um, across a number of organizations, and it's the importance of aligned communication from, I'm going to say at the top of the house, across C-suite leaders, the executive leadership team, whatever you refer to it, but that alignment on a communication when change is happening or change is going to happen. Because a lot of times what I found, it's interesting, it could either be a situation, this is one coachee that I heard, is that it came from, and it was a C-suite nursing operation from a different healthcare system. The message came down, people all attended this town hall. Then same group of people or a subset of those people all attended another town hall, same message, like literally same deck, same message. And then another subset of that group came together and it's the same deck, same message. So that is one person's interpretation of alignment of communication that's less than ideal, right? Another one could be is that you've got one section of the leadership team that's communicating with their part of the organization. Another C-suite member is communicating with their part of the organization, and same thing with another part. And yet the across the C-suite, they haven't coordinated what that message is to cascade down to different parts of the organization. So the best that I've seen, right, is that leadership gets aligned on what that key message is, why we're doing this, what's going on, and then we're going to cascade down. And when I say down, it can be a flat organization too. So you're going to cascade to the next level of leadership, right? That level of leadership then is going to cater the message to their part of the organization. Because if you just keep it at the C-suite level, the closer you get to the front line, the less likely they are to understand what's going on because it's not connected to what they do. So you cascade it down. And I think an important nuance here is, and you may have experienced with your organization, is that we need to bring the leaders together as we start to cascade down and train them on how they message this to their teams, get their questions answered before their team members are coming to them with questions and they're like, oh, I don't know. They just told me this is what I had to do. So that to me is there, it's a more intentional communication plan with breathing room. And breathing room, it can be 6 hours. If it's a message that has to get cascaded down, but breathing room to where the next level of leadership can come together, they're hearing the message, they're getting their questions answered, they're getting time for their brains to get wrapped around what it is, and then they cascade down to their team. And the other, I'm gonna add one more thing, and then I want to hear from you because I know that's a lot of cascading, right? Is that there's a feedback loop that we can hear how things are landing. Because a lot of times what happens is we cascade down these messages of change and we don't hear how it lands. And we just kind of go, we're good. We let them know. And it's like, but you got a train wreck happening because these people are freaked out. So what are your thoughts on all that like War and Peace novel that I just like put out there?
Yeah, I think what you are talking about is something that's really important, and I've seen some organizations uh, attempt, messaging or do messaging very well. Um, and then I've been in some organizations where it's not done as well as it could be done. I think there's extreme value in coming together and as a C-suite team and
Mm-hmm.
getting aligned on kind of what the message is, what are we going to be doing going forward, and then also getting together and identifying some frequently asked questions. Let's get prepared. Let
Mm-hmm.
what do we think people will ask? What questions can we be ready for?
Mm-hmm.
Getting those prepared, getting those talking points ready, so that when we are asked questions, that we have the answers. But yes, and then also another key component of this is just getting out there and
Mm-hmm.
connecting with their frontline teams to see what they're hearing and hearing their questions directly and being
Mm-hmm.
able to answer those questions. So, in my opinion, I think, the cascading of the message, the FAQs, but then also going to the team is,
Mm-hmm.
is what will lead to a successful messaging campaign.
Yeah. Um, I totally agree with you. It's interesting when to anticipate to create FAQs. What's your process? What's your practice normally what to just be able to anticipate what those questions may be?
I mean, well, I would say, I would probably start with the questions that I have.
Yeah. Really? What a great
Yes,
thing.
absolutely. I would definitely start with the questions that I have, but then I think I would also want to incorporate questions that other team members may have. I
Yeah.
mean, because you want to really take advantage of those different perspectives out there
Mhm.
and compile all that information. And then I think we go with that.
Mhm. Yeah, the thing that I would add is if we can go, because odds are, I mean, you came up through the ranks of in healthcare. So, and all of us started somewhere at that level. So the advice I would give, and I'll step into is I'm sitting in the seat of the different people in the organization that this change is coming down, right? I'm hearing this message. I don't have a seat at that table that where we're deciding the change and what's going to happen or whatever. So I'm sitting at that point and this is coming down. I want to step into that person's shoes and go, how am I feeling? And what questions do I have? And I think a lot of times what happens is because we end up in leadership roles where we think we're still connected to the front line. Because to your point, we can go to Gemba or we can go to where the work's happening, or we can go to clinics, we can round with people, whatever terminology you want to use. And we think we know. But the reality of it is we don't know anymore. We've been so far removed, but we can at least step in and reimagine what that looks like as a starting point. And then to your point, check with the rest of the C-suite, the executive team, and then check with other leaders in the organization to find out when this, especially when the communication, because the FAQ is an evolving document.
Right.
What are you
That
guys hearing?
Yes, that was going to be the comment that
Okay.
I'm going to share, FAQs can be a revolving document. Yeah, we may start with, questions that are generated from the E team, but as we get out there and continue to meet with the different team members at different levels, the FAQs may change based on what
Yeah.
we're I,
Yeah.
I think that that's a very important component and thing to continue to evolve and change.
Yeah. I got one for you, and this is about just thinking back because I know you are passionate about innovation and change. So you're not going to be the one that sits back and go, yeah, I'm not real comfortable with that. You're going to be leading the charge. Okay. And I've watched you just successfully navigate and manage change through the different roles that you've had. What's a successful change that you've been part of that you can sit back and look, and then what stands out for you? There are some things that you did that contributed to that success. Does that make sense?
Uh, yeah, a successful change that I've been a part of. Oh my gosh, Michelle, I've been a part of so many
I
outstanding things.
know, I know.
Really hard to pick one.
Well, my brain actually goes back to Sutter Roseville is where my brain goes for you. It's just, but it's wherever.
oh my gosh, yeah, that there was a lot of great change that happened there. There was a lot of great change that happened during my time at Common Spirit.
Yeah.
Very proud of,
Oh yeah, my God, that was fun stuff too.
yeah,
But what
absolutely.
what what key elements stand out for you with successful change?
Key elements that stood out for me. Patience was one of them. Um,
Are you talking about PATIENTS or PATIENCE?
CE.
I had a feeling.
Yes, patience. You really have to go slow if you want to go fast.
Mhm.
You shared that comment with me, and it has stuck with me for a very long time now. Patience is key.
Mhm.
Um, a successful change. Michelle, I think I'm going to let you select it because for me, they all are top notch, and I'm very proud of all of those successes.
Well, I look at some of the restructuring that you've done in different parts of the organization, in different parts of different organizations. One of the earlier ones that stands out for me is when you got Three Tower up and running, right? And I think the way that you brought that team together was different than the way historically other teams were brought together. And I think when I think about successful change, it's about the individual level, right? Because organizations talk about the organization's going to change, we're going to do this. Well, here's the hard facts. In order for the organization to change, the individuals in the organization have to change. And
Yeah.
so the way you approached that with bringing that team together created this culture of accountability, of continuous improvement, of this, for the most part, willingness and desire to
Yeah.
continue to evolve and change versus this is the way we've always done it. And so that's one of many over this long period of time that to me is one of the earlier ones for you that's a standout for me.
Oh,
Do you
thanks,
agree
Michelle.
or disagree?
I do agree. We were talking about how that team came together just this past week. Another former colleague and I, it was just amazing. It's something I had never thought of doing before, but
Yeah.
in the moment thought we're going to do it this way. And it was just a way to try to help engage the team and help them have a part in decision making, um, and building their own team
Hmm.
and building leaders. That's what it was really all about, is how do I build a team of leaders that can run our small portion of the organization well. Anyone on the team can run it. That was what it was about, and it was a huge success.
So I go back. There was one story I remember you telling me about that, and it does loop back to change and managing change because people step in and take ownership of stuff. to where I'll quote Cy Wakeman, or at least the gist of Cy Wakeman, and she does a lot of work in the HR space and a lot of work with people. And what she says is this: a lot of organizations go after engagement. Well, if you go after engagement of people without accountability, you can end up with entitlement.
Yeah, I know that quote very well.
Yes. So we go after accountability, right? Because here's the thing, when we create and develop accountability, and it doesn't mean I'm holding you accountable. It's we're holding ourselves accountable. We're accountable ourselves, our team, the organization, our goals, whatever that may be, right? The shared team. And that's where I think the whole idea of change and embracing change comes in too, because when I'm accountable and I can see, to your point, do we have opportunity? Do we need to do stuff differently? I've got my why and my purpose. I've got all that stuff so I can step in with desire.
Right.
But when I have accountability, I am engaged. I have yet to find someone who actually is accountable for the results in the organization and the role that they have that is not engaged.
Yeah, they all kind of go hand in hand. And, and thinking about the scenario that we were just talking about, I made the team accountable for figuring out who the team would be.
Mm-hmm.
And when there were problems, because yes, there were problems, my question was, what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because these are the team members that you picked together, right? And how do we work through challenges? We
Mm-hmm.
work, we work through them together. So I'm interested in your plan as to how we'll navigate this issue. Let me know what you decide.
Yeah.
And they figured it out. Came back, reported it was great. Everything is copacetic.
What I love about that whole thing, right, is that you coached and coached and clearly set expectations for people to change the way that they would typically do. Because before that, you've got a frontline nurse that maybe they're on a hiring panel, but the responsibility of managing that team member that might not be doing what they're supposed to be doing, you'd go back to the parent, right, the manager, and go, hey, fix this. Well, when you have accountability and this is managing to change, it's like, to your point, we all selected this person. It wasn't just me. We
Right,
all said, yeah, let's go. And it
right.
could have even been a situation that the majority of the team wanted this person, and you're like, I don't know that I would pick them, but you went with the team because that's what they wanted.
Absolutely.
So that kind of change management too comes back to being consistent about the messaging and the why for people to be able to step in and do things differently than they historically would have done. And I watched that unit that you led get the attention from other parts of the organization, and ultimately the chief nurse exec at the time, or chief nurse officer. I'm really not sure. It's almost like tomato tomato. Okay, when you have CNO CNE, come to the unit to find out what you guys were doing.
Yes, that was a huge honor. We were just being our best, running our part of the business as well as we could. But you know what? We were doing it a little differently. We were running it as a team, and everybody was responsible for each other. If someone failed, something went wrong, it impacted all of us. We were all in there trying to problem solve, figure out, okay, how do we do this better? How do we prevent this from happening? It was truly a magnificent team. And
Mm-hmm.
I stay in touch with those team members from time to time, and they're all doing really well. A lot of them are in leadership positions, which I'm really, really proud of.
Yeah.
I'm just proud to have had an opportunity to be a part of their journey.
So here's the interesting thing, right? To connect back to change and that whole thing. So it was change about the role, the typical role, the traditional role of frontline nurse within the whole team and how they interacted with each other. That was different for them. But there was also change initiatives and improvement work that you did within the unit that saw the improvement and the performance and the outcomes that that unit had over compared to other units, or even where you started, right? So I say that because there was constantly change happening within the unit.
Yeah.
How how was that successful?
I think a lot of it was successful because they were the ideas that came from the team.
Yeah.
Uh, they came forward with things that they wanted to see change.
Hmm.
And some of that we learned through failures. Hey, we should, put the cup here. I'm making this up, but we should put the cup
Yeah.
here, here, because when we put the cup here, it gets knocked over, and then it causes these other downstream problems. And
Hmm.
so a lot of that we make changes based on feedback from the team, and so
Hmm.
it just created this engine of change that was always happening. There was always some component of the care that we provided to our patients that was
Hmm.
changing and getting better.
Yep. So
Yeah.
what comes to mind, I'm grinning and bobbleheading because what comes to mind for me is Margie Haganey, my mentor, would ask, what's a little bit better look like, right? Today's not the only day. But the other thing was with improvement stuff, and Tanzi, you might remember this from the A3 thinking class, so the 2-day class that we had, it was Margie's content, is we need to get the fingerprints, their fingerprints on the thinking of the problems and the solutions. And because of the way you structure the team, that's what happened. And what happens when we do that, and especially regarding change, we're not arm wrestling people at the end of it when we come with a solution, because they were part of problem identification, root cause analysis, potential countermeasures. So they were invested
Yeah.
in what this outcome is at the beginning. And the way that the team was structured, which is ideal, right, is that they were part of it. And so it wasn't a top-down initiative that you had to go watch them all the time to make sure they were doing the stuff, because it was their stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I would get that question all the time. How do you get people to do the things that you need them to do? And it was the most mind-blowing question for me because I wasn't getting them to do anything. They
Wow.
they just did it because it was their own idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
So
what
no,
really.
I agree. I've just it's been a joy to watch. Especially the funny part is you and I met 10, 11 plus years ago in a Kaizen event, an improvement event. That's how we met. And so it's just interesting to see that stuff come back around. So it's been really cool to watch. So I appreciate this time. You have no idea how much I appreciate this time, or maybe you do know how much I appreciate this time. And I've missed being in the room with you. So what are one or two things, Tanzi, on this topic that you want people to walk away with?
Don't be afraid of change. Stay consistent, stay patient, um, and uh, engage people that may have a different perspective.
Hmm.
And
Oh, you just triggered something for me, because there was a I think that is really important what you just said, right? So when we talk about the feedback loop, that we want to hear how things are going, how things are landing. You're going to have people in your organization that are those really loud naysayers, the ones that are always going, we can't do this, da, da, da. Please invite them into the conversation.
yes,
You want to hear from those loud naysayers, and here's why. There's twofold for this. Number one, you want to be able to address their question, okay, and not silence them, because if people don't feel heard, they actually get louder.
yes,
So the other aspect to that is, and you may not believe this, or maybe you do, is they are voicing what other people are feeling but are too afraid to say.
yes. That
So you want to realize that odds are these people that are real loud are actually representing a larger part of your organization than just them. So please give them a platform. Please make sure people hear what's going on so that you can address what the questions and concerns are, because it's entirely possible they're highlighting something that is a danger zone for you.
Yes, absolutely. And if there's any way that you could find common ground and work on whatever the project, the idea, the direction is together, it's going to be even more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so
Totally.
important to engage those folks.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. This has been Leadership Soundbites. Thank you very much with Michelle and Tansy. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know if you know of a great leader that can be on this podcast that would be great for other people to learn from. And until next time, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.